Welcome back to the Stock Guy Analysis. Welcome back to the Explainer. So, if you've been anywhere near the financial news lately, especially the digital asset space, you've probably seen the dramatic headlines about Bitmine Immersion Technologies, BMNR. Oh, they're everywhere, and they're not subtle. Not at all. The narrative is pure doom and gloom. We've seen analysis from firms like CryptoQuant essentially screaming from the rooftops about BMNR's massive Ethereum exposure. Yeah, and they're pointing to one specific number. The big one, a $3.5 billion unrealized loss. It's a staggering figure. It is. And for a lot of investors, that number alone sounds like, oh yeah, a complete strategic failure, an impending disaster. It's designed to cause panic. And it works. When you see a number that large paired with the word loss, the first instinct is to run. But that's exactly why we're here. We need to move past that initial fear and examine the counterargument. Exactly. Our mission today is to dig into that counterargument BMNR supporters are making. They see the paper loss, they acknowledge it, but they argue it's irrelevant. They say it's irrelevant because the company is positioned to play what they call a massive trump card in 2026. A trump card. Okay, so this isn't about hoping for a minor market rebound. Not all. The claim is that a perfect storm of political and monetary policy shifts is coming. One that will fundamentally redefine Ethereum's value proposition. The goal is to turn paper losses into colossal gains. That's a massive claim. So what does this mean for you, the listener? We've structured this in 3 parts. First, we examine BMR's immediate financial health. Why a $3.5 billion unrealized loss isn't a death sentence. Right. Can it even survive until 2026? Then we move into the real drivers, the macro catalysts, political shifts, Federal Reserve moves. Everything the source material claims will change the game. Let's start with stability, because this is the bedrock of the entire bull case. When a company carries losses of this size, and it's critical to remember these are unrealized losses, meaning nothing has been sold, the real question becomes, can they hold long enough for the market to turn? And according to the sources, the answer is a resounding yes. They argue the company is not distressed at all. It comes down to the balance sheet, which looks less like a tech firm and more like a fortress. A fortress? Walk us through that. What are the key pillars holding them up? There are 2, and both are foundational. First, and this is critical for a company with this level of exposure, BMNR has 0 debt. 0. That's a massive difference maker in a bear market. It's everything. In crypto, debt leads to margin calls. Forced liquidation. Exactly. Without debt, BMNR is insulated from that spiral. No lender can force them to sell ETH at depressed prices. They can simply sit on it indefinitely. They can weather volatility without crystallizing losses. And in markets like this, time is the most valuable asset there is. Okay, 0 debt is pillar 1. What's the second? Cash. BMNR is sitting on $1 billion in cash. $1 billion. That's not just a cushion, that's a war chest. Exactly. They're not just surviving, they're operating from a position of strength. And this is where the strategy shifts from defense to offense. How are they deploying that capital? According to the reports, they're using it to average down. They accumulated ETH at higher prices, and now every ETH purchased at lower prices drastically reduces their break-even point. So if they bought heavily at $4,000 and now buy more at $2,000, their average cost collapses quickly. They're deliberately accumulating when fear is highest. It's classic deep value behavior. So the loss remains on paper, but the position improves. Precisely. Which means the real story isn't survival. That's already settled. The real story is what they're waiting for. The macro catalyst. Exactly. They're debt-free, liquid, accumulating, and waiting for the floodgates to open. So what is this trump card coming in 2026? The sources identify 3 major macro drivers. The first is an aggressive return to economic stimulus. And this isn't theoretical. The sources claim specific proposals are already circulating. Correct. Broad, recurring stimulus checks. Checks for everyone? For Americans, yes. Estimates range from $1,000 to $2,000 per person. And how would that be funded? Tariff revenue, according to the source material, redirected directly to the public. That sounds challenging, possibly inflationary. It is, and we're simply reporting the claim. But regardless of feasibility, history shows that when liquidity hits consumers, a significant portion flows into risk assets, including crypto. Exactly. It's demand-side rocket fuel, and that alone would matter. But it's paired with the second catalyst, tax-free crypto usage. This one is huge. What's the specific policy? Eliminating capital gains taxes on small crypto transactions, which is the biggest barrier today. Right now, buying a coffee with ETH triggers a taxable event. It kills utility. Remove that friction, even for transactions under $500 or $1,000, and perception changes overnight. Ethereum shifts from speculative asset to usable currency. Exactly. Network effects explode. But even that pales compared to catalyst number 3, the Federal Reserve. A monumental policy reversal in 2026. We've been in quantitative tightening, draining liquidity. Correct. But the sources claim QT ends and reverses. A new Fed chair, political pressure, aggressive rate cuts, and full-scale QE. Trillions printed. Yes. Which weakens the dollar and forces capital into hard assets, including Ethereum. Digitally scarce assets thrive in that environment. So let's synthesize this. A debt-free company holding massive ETH, averaging down, waiting for stimulus, tax reform, and monetary expansion. Retail demand surges. Utility explodes. Institutional capital floods in. The leverage is enormous. The claim isn't just recovery, it's explosive upside. And that's where BMNR stock becomes the real play. Exactly. Because they lowered their cost basis. Every dollar ETH rises delivers outsized equity gains. The stock is priced for disaster today. But if ETH runs, the stock behaves like a slingshot. The final projection claims the current $3.5 billion paper loss could become a $10 billion gain, driven entirely by this convergence of policy shifts. That's the thesis. Ignore the fear. Bet on macro engineering. Which leaves one final question for you. If small crypto transactions truly become tax-free, how does that redefine Ethereum? What's the valuation shift when an asset moves from speculation to daily utility? According to this analysis, that transformation is the real engine. Thanks for joining us. If this breakdown helped, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss our next explainer. Thank you.